Oh, baby, can I sing for you? Can I sing for you, baby? What is love without a kiss? What is love without a hug? What is love without a melody? What is love? What is love without your hand? What is love without a home? What is love if you're empty? What is love? So many different definitions of what love is. Love is. So many questions got me wondering what love is. What is love? What does it mean? What is love? Is it just make believe? Tell me what is love? What is love without a smile? What is love without pain? What is love without laughter? What is love without the rain? What is love without truth? Because I'm giving it to you. Right along with my heart. What does love mean to you, baby? So many different definitions of what love is. Love is. So many questions got me wondering what love is. What is love? What does it mean? What is love? Is it just make believe? What is love? Is it this or is it that? Is it the way you got my back? Or when I call you, and you don't call me back? Is it this or is it that? Is it the way you got my back? Or when I call you, and you don't call me back? So many different definitions of what love is. Love is. So many questions got me wondering what love is. What is love? What does it mean? What is love? Is it just make believe? What is love? So many different definitions of what love is. Love is. So many questions got me wondering what love is. What does it mean? All right, guys. All right. Well, we want to welcome you guys in tonight. Listen, y'all, we are back in for Black Love for Singles, and we haven't been here in a long time. So I welcome you guys to join in with us on tonight for such a wonderful time of conversation. Miss Carrie, it's so good to see you. Y'all continue to keep tagging others in to join in with us. For those of you that are coming in for the first time, listen, you do not want to miss out on tonight's call. This is going to be a great one. If it's your first time coming in, just say first timers on there, and we'll definitely make sure to shout you out on today. And if it's you coming back for the replays or from time before, say I've been here before, you can just place that in the chat box as well. But whatever it is, we welcome you guys in. Guys, before we get started tonight, we want to go ahead and be sure to share with others out there. I do believe this is going to be a call worth hearing, y'all. This has been a definitely what I call a clarion call from the Lord, because I wasn't planning on doing this. I had been talking about doing it for a while, but I wasn't really planning on doing it tonight. And I kept hearing something in my spirit. Marilyn, get back out there, help the singles out and help yourself out while you're doing the same thing. And so what I've done is I've invited my brother, Mr. Alvino Bell. Many of you have probably known him before. We call him Journeyman in our group. But Mr. Alvino Bell is going to be joining in with me as we have this conversation on tonight. So before I bring him in, I want you guys to make sure to share,
tag, invite others, come on in and join the party. Well, let me go ahead and get Mr. Alvino on with me. Mr. Alvino, how are you doing on tonight?
Hello. Hello. How you doing? How you doing, MP? I call you Marilyn.
I am
MP.
doing I'm doing well. It's so good to have you joining with me tonight.
It's so good to be here.
Listen, I couldn't have this conversation without you. I know you know how to take us to the root of things.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. It's always a pleasure to work with you and just your different platforms and all that you continue to do to help so many other people. And so I'm excited about tonight. I hope they got their reel on because we
Ooh.
coming with real.
Oh, I hope they do too. Listen, I hope they got their notepads and their pens and everything else that they need, because just from our early conversation, I can tell this is an area that you have been really diving into a lot and really studied. And I think both of us have been in that single world for a while. And Mr. Alvino got married on us a couple of years ago, so he left
Yeah.
us for a little while, and so I'm still
Amen.
out here, but I'm thank God I'm not in a rush for anything, Alvino. But let's
Yeah.
start right there. How has the married life been? And would you say that it was anything different than what you had expected?
It was, but you know what? It's all a part of the journey that comes with who you select to be with you, and it does come with some ups and downs. And I tell the people, I said, be ready to clock in, before you decide you want to clock out. So
Ooh, all right,
so
you done started already now.
what I'll say it like this, that love is the best thing that could ever happen to someone, and it's always good when it's the one that loves you back. Like the old song says, it feels so good when somebody love you and you love somebody and somebody love you back. So it's a beautiful thing. I wouldn't tell anybody to not do it because it is indeed worth the journey. I would put my money on it every single time to
Yeah,
go forward. So
yeah, I
yeah, I
love
mean,
I love that, Alvino. I do believe too. I believe love is a beautiful thing,
mhm,
especially when it is done in God's timing, the way that God wants it to be done. But
absolutely.
outside of God's time, and it can really cause a lot of chaos in our
Oh
life.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We can start right there too.
We can
So
start with the chaos that it
yeah,
causes.
yeah, because a lot of times what we do, MP, is that we start, like I was sharing with you, I said a lot of times we make selections based off of areas where we may have failed in relationship, and then we start picking out certain elements of what we say, well, I'm not dealing with that part, and I'm not dealing with that part. And then constant being in different relationships, we start marking off all the things that we don't like, and we want somebody that was going to agree completely with us. And I always say, if you're gonna find somebody that's gonna agree completely with you, you might as well just stay single.
You should have stayed by yourself. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
agree with you on that one.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
And I
So,
think another thing that we end up doing, Alvino, too,
hmm,
you get out of one relationship and then you get into another relationship and realize you just got into a relationship with the same person.
yep.
And I believe that it is a rhyme to the rhythm with that. You actually got into a relationship with yourself again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We think that when we get into relationships with other people, that it's like, oh, this is going to be something new. This is going to be, really, what I really need this time. I done took my time by myself. I've
Hmm.
hopefully gone through some healing, but we sometimes think that it's the other person and not
Hmm.
realize that that alone time that God places us in is
Yeah.
so that we can go back and take a reflective look on ourselves. What do you think about that?
I think that a lot of times when we get into those lone places, we tend to gravitate to something or someone else so quickly because we're trying to fill that void out. And a lot of times when we go to try and void fill, we end up saying, "Oh, okay, well this person talks to me nice, and this person seems to be the right thing." And I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I'm called to be married." Okay, well,
What that
and I
mean?
get and I get that part. But in the meantime, I say it like this. A lot of times people say, I'm preparing to be a wife. I have to always kind of draw back a little bit because I'm reminded of, okay, it was God that made Eve a wife, and Adam just called her a woman. He said,
Mm.
you're a woman, you are from my rib. And then God began to shape her into a wife. So a lot of times I'm encouraging that you continue, if you learn how to serve like you're supposed to serve, you're being made into the wife that or the husband that God needs you to be with, because you're already in the midst of the battle of whatever it is that you're dealing with to build your character. That's the word I'm looking for. You
Yeah.
start building your character and virtue around your circumstance and not the individual.
Yeah.
So, you see what I'm saying? So now you become a floater, as they say, like like they do in hospitals. They got what they call floaters, where they just go to different departments and do a different thing. You don't want to be a floater. You want to be flexible, but not a floater.
Break that down a little bit more, Alvino. I want to understand that.
Okay, when I say a floater, I'm saying that you go here and there and
Oh,
whatever for the company. But when you become flexible, you become willing to work within the department in what area is needed. So you become multifaceted in the area that you need it. So you're not just going over here and there trying to please everybody. You become flexible to whatever is need for the specific vision for who selects you.
Oh, I like that. You know what, Avina, that makes me think about how you need to be a little bit more, we need to be a little bit more versatile, meaning we should have gone to the Department of Conflict. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know how to work through conflict. We should have gone through the departments of family, understanding what family is about. We need to go to the departments of children, if children are involved, to see what that's about, so that we can maybe every now and then we may find an area that we are specializing in, but you need to be able to be flexible to go into some other areas just in case, because you never know the type of mate that's going to actually come into your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's when you begin to see that the components that you've already been incorporated with, let me say it like this. When God takes us through tests and trials, we say that all things work together for the good to them. And what we don't realize is that why does God have you in this place of single for so long when I know that I'm ready? And God says that if you were ready, then I would present that to you at the time. So there's definitely some things that you feel like you're ready in, but if we say it like we feel like we're ready to do whatever in business, ministry, relationship, we always say we feel like we're ready for it until we get it.
It gets there.
Yeah, until it becomes that. And then we realize, okay, well, this person is not agreeing with me like we started off agreeing with me. And this situation is changing. And I didn't pray for this, God. And, and so now it becomes that diversity place where you have to go back into and look at what kind of resume have you built up before. What does your resume say about your family, about your children, how you handle your finances, those intimate places that of conflict where you thought that you knew how to work it out till you met somebody that was not as willing to work it out. Now, what do? You see what I'm saying?
And you know what, Alvino, I think that's where a lot of and we're going to slow this down a little bit because we don't jump right in here now. I think this is where a lot of the hitting and missing comes at, because in the dating is not like it used to be, like girl meet boy, boy meet girl or whatever. And you pretty much, maybe from your family setting, you got a little bit of a knowing of the type of person that you may be attracted to or whatever, but that's not even that's not even solid anymore.
No, it's not.
People have gone through so much, sometimes we have chosen people that are totally, they're not even compatible to us at all. We found one thing that we liked about them, maybe it was their size, and maybe it was their income, or maybe where we thought they were going, only to realize that you may not have been able to keep up with that, because anything you enter into that's coming with a false resume. We'll put it like that. You
Yeah,
bring
no,
your
no, that's right.
accomplishments
That's
with
right.
you,
We lie
know,
on
and
our
we
applications when
rely
we
on
go
our
through the.
applications real
Yeah.
good.
Can you work weekends? Can you work holidays? Oh yeah, I do. I do whatever. You want me to work on Sundays? I go to church on Sundays, but I work Sunday, Saturday, Saturday in the
I'm
day.
working on Sunday so I can
Yeah,
go.
I do it because
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is we're trying to sell a product of what it is that we want so bad that we're willing to do whatever. And then when we get the job, then it's all of a sudden,
That
well,
ain't my job.
I don't know if I want to work Sundays. Is there any way that can I come in and work a half a day?
No, we already trying to get some time off, and we ain't even been
Yeah.
on the job long
Well, I'm
enough.
using my PTO for Sundays.
Oh my God, that's good. Let's slow it down a little bit, Alvina. I want to welcome
Okay.
everybody in on tonight. As you guys can see, we're picking right back up where we left off at. I want to welcome you guys to Black Love for Singles. And I call it Black Love for Singles because it's not that I'm partial to anybody else, but I definitely want to help our people to understand what Black love is all about. And I do believe that Black love is beautiful,
Absolutely.
when it's put in the right context. There is a scripture in Solomon, the book of Solomon, where he talks about not waking up love before time. Have you heard that before, Alvino?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that when we look into that, I think that a lot of times we run into these fantasy places where you get into conversations about, I've used this before, these hypotheticals, especially with guys using hypotheticals of, well, what would we be doing if I was there now? Or, what would we be at if we were on a cruise, and these kind of romantic gestures that would imply that that we're together. But then when the rubber meets the road, as we said a while ago, then it starts to be like, okay, well, you were saying this, especially for a lot of women that desire to be married, that element starts to really draw them in. And then all of a sudden, when we start to get to that, and then it becomes like, okay, well, I'm awake now. You don't stirred up an element of where I'm ready to love you. And now all of a sudden you're trying to pull back now at this time. And so that awakening place, once you get that love wheel moving and you desire to be loved, then it's hard to, it's like a train. You try and stop a train within a mile and see how that goes. It's going to take a while,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And that's what leads to a lot of people that when they're going through this dating place, disappointments, because I finally found somebody that's good enough. Notice I said it that way. That's good enough for what my journey looks like. And so this man with this one leg and this hat and this arm, and this is just enough to get him down the aisle. As long as the left hand is with him, I can get him down the aisle, and I can work with that, and then we'll order the rest of the pieces on Amazon.
Don't start. It's something we try to piece it all together.
Yeah, Amazon, they do overnight, and they'll bring it in the next day. As soon as you hit click, like, I get them pieces on in, and I'll put the rest of it together on the fly. Yeah, I use a little duct tape.
Oh my God.
Gorilla tape.
Listen, I realized that gorilla glue don't work too well.
No.
Yeah. But you know what? It is important to have these candid conversations with individuals, because a lot of people are getting stumped in the same areas. You're going out to the dating sites out there, and if you go to one dating site, you find the same people on another dating site, and sometimes it's the same conversation. I think the falsifying of the application is probably the main thing. One of the things that I have often heard on the sites when they talk, especially if you are a Christian, when they say things like they are a man of God. Now, I don't know what the women are saying out there, but some of the men are saying that they are a man of God. And you almost have to ask them what that means. I'm spiritual, I'm a man of God. What does that mean? And I also believe, Alvino, that there are individuals out there that do want Christian women or do
Mm-hmm.
want Christian men,
Absolutely.
but they also want to, straddle the fence on there as well. I think sometimes the Christian part of it may be where their safe haven is at. I want somebody that's going to honor me, that's going to respect me. But at the same time, you're still entertaining other things that are out there. And that kind of negates the whole, either you're all the way in or you're not, and that's one of the things that I'm seeing. And it is one of those things you have to remember. Don't wake up love before time. You got to go out there and make sure that people are who they genuinely say that they are, because they can bring a lot of heartache into your life. And once it gets in there, it's like what you said a few minutes ago, when you wake up that love element, because you desire to have that feeling it's hard to shut that thing off, even when you can see that there's danger there.
Absolutely.
You'll see the danger, but it's hard to turn it off. Can you talk about that a little bit, Alvino?
Absolutely. As far as like the going into the Christian online dating thing, some people are like hesitant about it. Some people are like, no, it's a good thing. But I tell anybody like this: these Christian dating sites are just like meeting somebody at the gas station. There is no different. I mean, because if you meet them at the gas station and they hiding something, they're going to hide that as long as they can until. So this is where our discipline places become so much where we don't make emotional choices. I mean, our love choices with just our heart, but the elements of observation, these elements of discipline that comes into place to realize that, okay, how much are we exchanging of ourselves? Are they asking the questions that they want to know only, or are we just asking questions to really join into a greater place? And that becomes a part of the experimental part. That's why having the relationship with God becomes so important, because your discernment should kick in. And I always encourage women at this. I said, hey, listen, if you want to find a Christian man, where's your prayer life first? And then where is his prayer life? Bring him into prayer and let him pray. Because if your prayer life is on point and you bring a man in and you can discern where his prayer life is, that'll give you a whole lot of growth of an element of where he is. It doesn't tell you everything, because we got some men out there in the with the microphone that can hide some stuff very well as well. So that's where the discernment part comes in, because no matter how anointed a person is, their character is going to speak up at some point.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that I don't listen to what people say anymore, Alvino. I watch what they do.
You have to.
Yeah, I watch what they do. I think a lot of time, like you say, you have to go through that, through the process. And one of the things when you talk about dating, and the only reason we're talking about that tonight is a lot of people are desiring to be in relationships, but dating is just what it says. You are collecting data on that individual,
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to know what information you need to get. To me, it's kind of like these new AI systems out there, ChatGPT, Copilot. They're not going to give you any more information than what you put in there. If you ask me a question, well, can you tell me about things that have the color blue? It's going to come up with a general idea. Now, if you are trying to figure out, okay, if I want to blend these two colors in here to get this perfect color of blue that I want, you're going to have to ask more questions on there. It's the same thing with dating. Sometimes we don't know what we want. All we know, we want a straight man, or we want a woman that's going to be, whatever.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, you want somebody that's got a job, that, hopefully not, leeching off of anybody.
Right.
But you don't really go in to ask them questions like, tell me about your parents, Tell me, did your mother and father, did you grow up in your home with your mother and your father? And it's not to criticize or not to single anybody out. But all I want to know is what the experience was like. Because with when they start talking about it, you can either hear where they're at a place of peace with that, or
Yeah.
if there's your turmoil that's going on with that. And even if it is, Alvina, because I don't think anything is just a deal breaker at the beginning until
Mm-mm.
we get deeper into the conversation, because I need to know how well you are able to articulate
Yeah.
or verbalize about whatever that situation is, because
Yeah.
I do believe that once you start talking about it, healing can take place in that area as well. But you have to
Absolutely.
ask questions. There are
Yeah.
questions that maybe in a previous relationship, that's the very thing that you kind of tripped up on. Maybe y'all didn't talk about finances. What did you expect? I want to know at the beginning of it, are you truly looking for marriage, if that's what you're looking for, or that word I asked you about earlier, are you looking for companionship? Let's talk
Yeah.
about companionship and
Okay.
what that means, Alvino, because some people are saying that word out there and we are assuming that they mean you want to be in a relationship, but companionship does not mean that you want to be in a relationship with someone. Can you talk to us about that?
A companionship is kind of like, to me, it's like I want to treat it like a tryout basis. And in the same token, when I say tryout, I mean I want enough to feel like I'm in a relationship with you, but enough to where I don't have to fully commit because we're not married. And it gives an easy escape for the whole. Now, I'm not saying anything is wrong with having that, but you can go out and keep company with other people, and then that just be it. But when you start to talk about companionship and leading up to more than that, now that's where the line starts to thin out, because the more you spend time with a person, either you're going to want to be closer to them or you're going to want to become further away from them. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
those red flags will begin to show up, not just in a person. Like I was going to say it like this. When you were talking about those trust areas and the conversation places of meeting to the heart of things, whenever you start to feel those little drawbacks or those sensitive areas where they don't really want to talk about it
Talk
right now,
about certain
those
things.
are things. Yeah, those are things to really consider in the companionship and dating process, because they should be in a healed place where they can talk about those kind of things. Transparency, when you come into a relationship, is an all out. It's okay to, I say it like this, it's okay to put yourself out there if you understand that you're being transparent about who you are. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so there's no fear in, if you're going to hurt me, because if you start drawing back, then my discernment should kick in to say, okay, you may not want a complete companion. You may just want some internship.
Oh, okay. What's the internship?
The interns are just kind of people that just come in to see if they can get the job. And they are practicing all the things. It does not mean that they're going to get hired at the company, but they are using you, or you are using them, to see if they are worth being employed with, or being an employee with, a co-laborer with. So that place becomes very flexible in how you want to move forward. And it gives a lot of waiver room to not say, okay, well, I don't want the job.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so you get to live in this, like what they give those timeshares. And
Yeah.
they allow you to come experience all the timeshares is. But when you get into the contract of it with the timeshare, it's almost impossible to get out of it.
Get out of it.
You know, and it costs so much. And that's what a lot of times it's what's going on with these little companionship situationships that go on, is that you get all this individual and you think you're getting the married part of them, but you're just getting a big part of the timeshare that's selling you on the relationship until you get into the relationship. But once you get in, then it's like, it's not an easy get out place. You
Yeah.
know, now you have to start kind of reevaluating a lot of things of what I can do while I'm in it at this point.
Yeah, and you know what, Alvina, this is something that I've always said too. We have to be mindful of those type of purchases, or
Absolutely.
investments that you make, because sometimes that thing could take you 10 years to get yourself out of it, getting your
Yes.
emotions out of it,
Yeah.
if you done invested money. Sometimes people go into those companionship times, or
Hmm.
those that we think that they're real relationships, but they're
Yeah.
not,
No.
because if you have not entered into a covenant relationship,
I
is
just remember.
it's no good.
Yeah.
But we go in investing financially, we start
Yeah.
moving in with each other, we start doing
Yeah.
all kinds of things, and you're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens when you have to turn around and back up out of there, it's hard to back up when you
Yeah.
got the cart in front of the horse.
Yeah.
It's just hard to do that. So it's a lot of meat on that bone right there, Alvino.
I,
And I think Jessica said that she said, can you break down the internship part of that a little bit more?
well, when you go into internship, you're doing all the testing places of what it may be like in the relationship. Just like an internship, when you go to different places, some people go to 2 and 3 and 4 internships before they can actually get the
Before they
job.
graduate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and so when you start to go through these companionship places and these Netflix and chills and these dinners and things like that, and try not to chill too much though, but these kind of places, it is very important that you understand that this is still internship. Dating
Internship.
is not marriage at all. I
Yeah.
don't care what people say. I don't care how long you live with them. I don't care how long you go out to date with them. Dating is not marriage. And people try and say, well, it feels the same. Listen, it may feel the same in some hard places, but when you start to deal with so many other elements that come with the separating in a marriage, it's a different type of tear. That's all I can say. It's a
Ooh,
different type of tear.
mhm.
It may feel like it's the same because you've invested so much of your heart, but it's a different monster. It
Yeah.
is.
And,
It
and
is.
And I think one of the things, Alvina, is because when what, if this is the way I look at it, the difference that I saw between dating and being married, you had more of a protection clause with you when you were
Yeah.
married,
Yeah.
because
Insurance. Well, I mean,
you have,
dating. I was thinking about
yes,
dating.
yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
you had more of a protection clause with you when you're married because you're in covenant relationship.
Right. Exactly.
Dating, everybody's still kind of weighing this thing out. Like you
Hmm.
said, in the internship process, they don't really know for sure if
Yeah.
this is something that they want. Sometimes this is why it takes so long to make a commitment in the relationship. And then it's like, next thing you know, what I start seeing people doing, they start putting ultimatums on people out there.
Yeah.
When you have gotten into the relationship wrong to begin with, now you want to start putting ultimatums out there. Well, if you don't do this by this time, if you don't do this by this time, no, you still in the dating process, and that person is real in the internship, and they could go to another job at any time, Alvino.
Yep. Yep.
At
And
any
then,
time.
and that's why I was telling a young man the other day. I said, single. On the application, they got single, they got married, they got divorced, and they got widow.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the main areas. They don't have dating or in a relationship. Why? Because it counts as still single. And so what you have to realize is that even though you may be in what we would call a committed relationship, you are still single.
You're still single,
And
yes.
so if that person wants to bounce tomorrow, then they can bounce
They can
tomorrow,
bounce, yeah.
because there's nothing tied to it. And I think that that's where a lot of these problems come in at, is because there's nothing more to connect them to. And people say, well, okay, well, we married and we can just leave, but you don't just leave
A marriage.
without having to visit. See, you don't have to necessarily revisit somebody that you've been in a committed relationship. But when you're married, at some point, y'all are going to have to reconnect or deal with something on some level at some point. You know what I'm saying? And so there's just so many components that we have to really, really consider when you start to talk about that internship place. That investigation becomes so important, because you don't want to just investigate with your heart. You want to investigate with the Lord as well.
I like that.
If you, I say it this way, if you meet somebody that you can't bring to your father, then they are not somebody that you should consider.
Absolutely.
Because God is going to check them out. Like I said, you take them to prayer. Prayer will show you a whole lot about an individual, especially in these stages where they say, well, I go to church sometime. Bring them before prayer. Okay, now I'm not excluding a hardworking man, because a hardworking man and I'm really tough on men, but a hardworking man, a man that does good, has great integrity. He may not know the Lord as well, but he's good, and he's good to you, and he honors you, and he respects you. Those are great qualities that you can work with as well. And if he got some God in him, I hate to say it that way, but he got some God in him, that God can still work with that. But those character places, they play such a stronger dividends, and I can't express that enough. Character traits show you so much, because when you start to deal with these generational curses, you start to deal with broken past relationships and harbored feelings and people that don't forgive and all those kind of things. Those things are going to show up, and the devil is looking for you to say I do, so he can tell you why you didn't.
Yeah. And you know what, Avino? They show up in strange places too.
Oh man.
They show up. I was talking to a young lady the other day, and she was telling me about this experience that she had. She had gone out on a date, and she was paying attention. She said, I watched the way when we got ready to go inside of a building, how he walked in the building before me and did not hold the door open for her. Okay? Man. And then it was some other little thing. There were telltale signs that she was like, okay, he's selfish. He doesn't think about that. And to me, that goes a long way.
Absolutely.
I listen. I even pay attention to, before even somebody can even take me out on a date, I'm going to be listening to your conduct on the phone. First of all, I'm going to stop to see if you are even emotionally available to have a conversation on the phone. And with that comes how deep are you willing to communicate about things? Are you like, well, hey, well, I just want to call and say hello, something like that. I can tell right then that they're not really deep in that communication vein. And for me being a communicator, that will be hard for me to be in a relationship with somebody like that. And then another thing, Alvino, I watch to see how respectful they are when it comes down to even asking questions about your family. Well, how's your family doing? You're interested in me, but you're not interested in knowing anything about my family. That kind of tells me another story about they may not be as family oriented as they may say that they are, because what do we normally do? We talk about our family. Whatever's important to us, that's what we talk about more than anything else. And I'm saying all that to say, during those courtship stages, there are a lot of telltale signs of things as to whether you should even give a person just the benefit of the doubt with things. Some are, y'all are not even in the same category with each other, and you don't have to put somebody down or make them feel bad about anything, but you do need to recognize at the door if this is something that's going to waste your time, because we can get into relationships. We can get on internship jobs that it's wasting our time. You don't want to be there. It's just the money you're making, especially if they're paying you. You just making the money, but I wasn't even interested in computers. I'm not even interested in medicine or whatever. So.
And I think that that's important too, because what we have to realize is that you don't want to not only waste your time, but you don't want to waste that individual's time as well. You
Absolutely.
see what I'm saying? Because somebody that don't have anything to lose is somebody that you may want to kind of be cautious of as well, because they're going to give you whatever kind of time that they have. And when you're trying to be in a place, you want to be able to have that, see your importance, but also understand that your importance and their importance kind of have to line up a little bit somewhere,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you are a
My time,
priority at some point.
everything.
Yeah. If you're always the back burner of everything, then they are showing the show tell sign of where you are right now until they decide they want to make it more important. And
Yeah.
while they're trying to figure out if they want to make you a priority for where y'all are going, then you have to give them the freedom for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have
That's
to
true.
give them the freedom and let them go, because maybe they don't know yet. And that's
Yeah.
all right. It's okay if you don't know yet. But if you are ready and they are not ready, you don't want to start moving your heart into a place. You never want to move your heart into a place where somebody's heart is not already there as well.
That's exactly right. Alvino, I've been there on both sides of the track.
Mhm. Me
A lot of
too.
I've met individuals that they were like in a hurry to, I'm not going to say in a hurry, maybe they were more sure
Right.
of the relationship than I was. And there's still a few things that I pay attention to or I'm looking at to say whether I want to invest time because Alvina, you'll put time into anything that you feel like is important to you. And if
Absolutely.
it's not important to you, you're not going to put time in it. So a lot of times when you find people that don't invest that much time, they
Mhm.
have not found this relationship to be worth, kind of
Fighting
stepping
for.
aside from, fighting for,
Yeah.
putting some other things aside for. I do believe chemistry is important. I
Absolutely.
really do. I believe chemistry is important. It's something about the makeup of who we are as individuals that somebody knows how to speak the right language. They know
Hmm.
how to crack the right joke. They know how to say the right thing. They know how to pray the right prayer. And
Yeah.
something about the chemistry there, it's just like, I don't know if it's just God that went before you or what it
Hmm.
is, but I do
Absolutely.
believe that we're going to know that. Alvina, I want to shift gears on this, and I
Sure.
want to talk about just a couple of things here. I do believe that when it comes down to whether it's Black love or any kind of love, before we get into what we call the romantic side of things, because I think everybody wants to be romanced and all of that, I think there
Hmm.
are some other things that have to be looked into. And one of those things is learning how to love yourself
Mm.
without apologies. And I think
Yeah.
that's what we're saying right here too. When somebody has determined that you're what they want, but you don't know just yet if they are who you want, I think that is also a sign that you have learned how to love yourself
Yeah.
without apologizing. I do not have to be a yes ma'am man or a yes woman to
Hmm.
everybody just because you're interested in me. Because I
Absolutely.
look at it like this: I can go to Kroger's, I can go to HEB, I can go to Tom Thumb, I can go to wherever. I do not have to go to Kroger's just because you want me to go to Kroger's.
Right.
And what
Yeah.
I mean by that is I don't have to like the things that you like just because you feel like that's something that's necessary for you. I think you need to find somebody that finds that very important. Does
Yeah.
that make sense, Alvino?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that that chemistry place, it does pay great dividends. I also feel like chemistry, like I'm gonna say it like this. In order to start a car, you need a what? A positive and a negative.
That's
Two
good.
positives is not going to start a car. Two
Right.
negatives is not going to start a car. The negative is symbolic of the ground that it takes to bring the charge to the positive. So you need both the positive and the negative, the strengths and the weaknesses of somebody. You don't need somebody that like to spend money like you, because y'all gonna be at home and eating ramen noodles. Okay? y'all are
That's
going Y'all are going y'all you need somebody that offsets you as well. Y'all can still have the same vision for what y'all want in family, what y'all want to do in life, in love, in romance, and these things. But you need somebody that if you like to be in the house, you don't need somebody always that wants to be in the house, because y'all are going to be content just being at home as well. So you need a little bit of balance for that chemistry. I'm all for people with the same vision and what it is that you want to do and with your kids and things like that. I am all for that. But you also need somebody that sees some things a little differently from you, that will open up your understanding, that will cause y'all to grow together.
Yeah.
So you need somebody that's optimistic and somebody that's a little more not pessimistic, but a little more reserved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Vino, what do you do when you're well, let's put it like this. You're at that stage in life, you're not getting any younger, okay, and none of us are. And it's like, okay, you feel like you're being a little picky, you're being a little choicey out there, whatever. And you find someone that they're a good woman or man, they got great qualities about themselves, but they're boring. They want to do nothing, But go ahead.
I know where you're going with that. Let me help you. This is where where too much internship
stayed there too long.
Yeah, well, too many jobs, going out to trying to find too many jobs, trying to find the perfect fit. Because if you put yourself out there too much, then all you're doing is catering to what you want. And so you become that kind of selective. When you're in God, God starts to strip you of stuff that you like. And all the stuff that you thought you liked, God starts saying, well, I really didn't like it that much, because God's starting to take the taste out of my mouth. So before you start to get with somebody, going back to what we were saying, you need to be by yourself so that you will see how God will strip you. Go on some fast and let God strip you of everything, because the best way to see what you're connected to is to deny yourself from everything. And then your flesh will start gravitating to what it is that you think you want. And then that's where God says, I'm exposing you. I'm extracting the wanted parts of you for what you really don't need. That way you'll learn elements of contentment by just relationship building with your coworkers, because relationships are with coworkers, with people you deal with in church. You want to be married and you can't even talk to the usher or the door greeter, or you get mad because of this and that, and you can't even work with the people that you work with, but you think you can make it work with love and a relationship with somebody that you're going to have to spend all your time with every day. You got to check the reality of, okay, maybe I think I'm ready, but this is showing me I still got a lot more I need to work on.
I think one of those things, I used to always say, before you get into relationships, have a relationship with your girlfriends. And when y'all start hanging out with each other, check to see, if, y'all are flexible with one another, see how you sit down at the table and talk to one another. Are you real pushy? Are you rushy with them or whatever? And really what it's doing is putting you in an internship program with your friends before you get into a relationship with somebody that you want long-term or whatever. I think all of it goes back to, how bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough that you will allow God to strip you? Because it's obvious that your taste is not getting you what you need.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to go through periods to where God has to strip you of that palette that you have, so that you can see what's really necessary in relationship, because all the stuff that we think is necessary is not necessary. And I want to go here on this one here.
Okay.
When we talk about loving yourself without apology, you're talking about healing from old wounds. This is reclaiming your voice, all of that. For the people that have been married before, and taking a chance, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking a chance to get back out there again. Your heart being broken, possibility of that. having to start all back over, trusting somebody all over again.
Mhm.
You know, what happens when you know, you got a lot of things that you've learned from your previous relationships, and it's like the first time you see something that reminds you of where you
Ooh.
came from, you know,
Ooh.
a lot of times we're like,
Mm.
no, don't want that, don't whatever.
Mm.
And to be honest, that could be a place where there's still an old wound that's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And do you, what I think what you're talking about is those trigger places.
Triggers, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And a
yeah,
lot of times things from previous relationships can set off triggers, and you'll take it out on the individual that you're with from something that they didn't create. And sometimes those triggers don't even just go back to the previous relationship. Sometimes the triggers go so far back that you just think you found the last person that hurt you the worst to put it
the
on.
worst.
But it's been, but a lot of triggers have came from when we were children.
When we were
That,
kids.
you know, those places of rejection and those places of certain things. Like I talked to a young lady, and um about different things that going on with her marriage and this and that, and I'll say something and she'll say, oh, please don't say that, that reminds me of something that I've been through. Or I'll say something else and she'll say, oh, don't say that, that'll remind me of something I've been through. And I said, well, I don't know all your triggers, I'm just saying it the way I know how to say it. And so what it is you got to go back and look at you and what sets you off and what caused you to go on a postal killing spree on people with your words.
With your mouth.
Because yeah, because we don't really know the triggers of things with us until something hits us, and then we get offended. And like I always say, most times when we get offended, it ain't from the person that offended us, it's from somebody that has
Yeah.
previously offended us before. It just sounds like them now.
And then, depending on how deep that thing was,
Ooh,
unforgiveness sets in, you know, and
PTSD.
PTSD. You are so, that is so true.
They
Yeah.
they start going through those war places where you can't have no noise or you can't say certain things. And what that does is it makes it difficult for people to connect with you. And you say, well, I can't help the way, this is just the way that I am. Well, no, that's not the way you are. That's just how you've been shaped. Because all children start out pretty much the same. They all start out with kindness and vulnerability, and they're open to whatever until they're shown other things on what they need to be like. Then they start shaping themselves behind that. No child wakes up with racism and hatred and anger and this and that, all these habits. They develop them through the surroundings and the environment they're put in. So they literally become the seed and grow up from the environment that they're in.
Yeah, that's true. And that is something, I think that's something that you have to be willing to talk about even in the dating stages about your
Mhm.
trick. I think that's a question at some point in the, you know, collecting data process that you need to talk about the triggers, you know,
Absolutely.
Vino, it could be you went out to dinner with them or whatever, and you noticed some things, and
Hmm.
that may not have been the right time to talk about it, but it needs to be talked about at some time. You
Right.
know, that triggered that, you know, like you say, the noise is bothering you, and or the kids playing at a chair behind you or
Yeah.
something like that. You know,
And
it's
the
a whole,
shutdown, oh my gosh. The
yeah,
shutdown and those different things are the silent treatment, you
stonewalling.
know.
Yep.
And I'm guilty of it, of doing that, you know, and I've done it before. And no, it's not fair to them. It's not. It's
Yeah.
not, you know, but you know, those places where you start to really see where you may have been hurt, it gives you an opportunity to realize that this comes with the part of the relationship that you're in, that you're at some point going to have to find a place to have these discussions with somebody that you love, or not. If not, then you're saying that I love my pain more than what is promised to me.
Yeah. I mean, I want to go there. Let's talk a little bit since
Hmm.
we have, it's very seldom we get a chance to really talk to the men to talk about those
Sure.
areas that cause shutdown,
Okay.
because I
Absolutely.
think women notice it a lot, but depending on where your skill set is at, sometimes you don't, over scratch whatever that thing is. But
Hmm.
what causes a man to shut down to the point to where, in the dating stage, to where he starts ghosting, or he decides that no, I don't want this anymore, or I don't want to talk about that anymore. And then just decides out of nowhere that, I changed my mind. I don't want to be there. What's going on? And I know you can't speak for every man, but what
No.
is going on in that world like that, especially when a woman has already given them, y'all have developed this time and been spending time with each other. And then all of a sudden you just get there one day that, I don't think I want this anymore. What happens there?
I think a lot of times what happens with for a man, especially if he starts off in the willing place and then all of a sudden he starts to revert back to less communication. I think there's something that may have been said that may have set off a trigger of
So
offense to him. Sometimes it's areas of where he feel like he's been disrespected, and for a lot of black men, we take those honorable places of being respected very, very seriously. We take those things, and when we feel like we've been disrespected, one thing about a man is this: if he really loves you, he's going to express that in the beginning. If it continues, then he's going to start getting quiet. He's going to start becoming more reserved, and then the woman may find herself, well, why you not talking like you used to, or why you don't do what we used to do? And he's like, oh, nothing, just kind of busy, because at this point he's shared his heart with you. It may have been used against him, or something that's been brought up in an argument that was collected just for this moment, so that it can be thrown back in his face. So some of that plays a part. Sometimes it's the disrespect place of what he's looking for, and he feels like he's been disrespected. It's the communication places that he tries to do and tries to share, but oftentimes goes unheard or overlooked a lot of times. And so those things are men's quiet places, because we barely talk as is
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
And so if you get to a man where he's not even talking anymore, then he's emotionally checked out. And I know women say, well, women can handle pain better than men, and that's true, which puts more accountability on how you have to be more careful with the man's heart, because where a man's heart is, his treasure, he'll share about what that is on his heart. So if it's the vision of what he thinks about you, or him talking about work, or him even bringing moments up of personal places where he haven't talked about before, I think it's important that the woman put on their ears and put a clothespin on their mouth, because he may not take you down that rabbit hole again.
Go there ever
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. So he's not really looking for you to solve it, but he's looking for those affirmation places. He's looking for those comforting places of saying, listen, babe, I know you've been through this, and I want to thank you for sharing this with me, but I'm letting you know that I'm supporting you and I'm in your corner. And really, that's all we really want. We don't want a lot. We just want a place where we can come in peace. A good man. I'm not talking about these interns. I'm talking about
Yeah.
a good man. A good man is just basically looking for a place of respect, love, loyalty, and support.
Vina, you're really helping me with that. That makes me, a lot of time we got this thing about our genders, the
Hmm.
feminine energy, the masculine energy. When it comes down to getting to the intimate side of a man, woman, or whatever, that's not sex. I'm talking about really getting to know their heart. Do
Right.
you finally get to touch the feminine side of a man?
It can happen. It can. The Listen, for a woman, if a man is into you, he's there for you. He gives to you. He gives himself to you. He will indeed allow that more intimate side to be seen by you. A lot of times he may not show it to everybody else, but he'll
Yes.
definitely show it to you. Those pillow talks, especially when you're a safe haven, I say it like this. When men interview women, I use that loosely,
Yeah.
but when we interview you, we are looking for, are you a good place to build my home in your life?
In your heart.
It's like your heart becomes like territory for, can we start a home with you?
So, I want to stop right there. So, for a man, well, let's say this: for a woman, she's looking for security. She's
Mm-hmm.
looking for safety. She's
Mm-hmm.
making sure that we got a place to stay. All of that. For a man, his resting place may not necessarily be in a physical home. His resting place is in a woman's heart.
Absolutely. Then,
and then she can make whatever home she wants to make out of it when she has his heart.
Absolutely, because a man will do anything for a woman that will share the complete support and compassion and the respect places that I'm talking about. A good man. I got to keep emphasizing that. I'm not just talking about any blowjo, because some dudes just misuse great women, but a man that sincerely wants to spend his life with you and give you the very best of him, and you make him a component of a safe haven, a land. Like I said, I'm viewing it like he's a surveyor, and a surveyor is going out to see the boundaries and the territories of what it takes to be yours. They go in and they mark territories. And when a man comes in and does his surveying on a woman, he's looking at her saying, this is a safe place where I can come to give you my very best home of my life.
So nobody can give that back except for that woman once that man gives you that.
Absolutely. And that's what happens. And this is the reason why women say, well, why he got another woman on the side, and why does this? It's not even so much the sexual part. Okay. The sexual part just kind of comes with the man being able to open his heart up. I know some men say, well, a man can just lay down with anybody, and not be attracted to him or whatever. But when men get older, we start to look differently at relationship. We don't look at it just a body and this, and you know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to keep it clean.
Right.
We're not looking for just that, but now we're looking for that companion place that we can sit on the porch with our lemonade and just kind of look at the cars and talk about the neighbors together. Those kind of places, because you start to look for, where does the rest of my life lead with you? Not just where we are right now. I'm seeing down the hill with my life, and I'm preparing my plots with you, and I'm preparing my vacations with you, and I'm preparing, my entire existence with you. And so when men start to get to that place in life, they are specifically looking for the support places, these encouragement places, and these places where you're not feeling disrespected.
Well, this is good, Alvino. I think a lot of times we are using the wrong tools. We're using the wrong we're using the wrong playbook when it comes to relationships, and not realizing you working harder than what you really need to. I think a lot of it is about understanding what a man needs and understanding what a woman needs. And but that also leads to a question: what happens when you don't know what you need? The first thing they go to, or first thing a person goes to, is sex, or providing for me. Can you buy things for me? All of that, and that has nothing to do with determining whether this is somebody that you want to settle down with. I think it's some contributing factors to it, but I don't think it's something that you should lay your hat down on or anything,
No,
so
absolutely not. Because I think that when you start to get into those games, well, it goes back to a lot more younger in mind, and that where now the sexual part becomes a bargaining chip,
for
for the full prize of what someone may be trying to obtain as a whole. And,
Yeah.
and some of it is a compassionate place where you're drawn to them and you're attracted to who they are. So that part is a part of the component as well. But at some point, that road of this right here is not going to make the relationship. What
It's not
else
gonna
is
do
making the
it.
relationship? But once you get those emotions in and you start going and dipping in that well, and they're good. I'm gonna say it like that. They're good in those performance places. Now the emotional place. I'm already connected to you. I'm already attracted to you. You make me feel good about myself, and you make my body feel good. So now the bargaining chip of, well, why won't you commit to me becomes an even more element, because now I want to own you for myself.
You talking
And you
about him
don't
or her?
either.
Either or. Okay.
Yeah, but more so it becomes for the woman, because a lot of times more women are ready for that. I need you
That
in my life.
commitment
But
part of it.
yeah, but they feel like they have to give so much of themselves up for it. But I say this, that when a man really wants you, he'll do the Jacob experiment. He'll work the 14 years to get to you, because why? It's something greater than, if a man will work for you for 14 years, it's definitely beyond how she looked at that point. Okay. It was something else that Jacob saw in Rachel, that he says, I'll put in all the time that I need
Because
to
he's already identified.
yeah, that's what I
He's
said.
already identified her. Alvina, that takes me to another point. I know tonight, for those of you that are just joining in, this is our first Black Love for Single coming back, as if we done been here all along. But tonight's message, we're talking about the importance of being in the waiting room, not jumping out there before time. And there are so many, things that we need to back this train up and make sure that we get, everything put in its proper place, the caboose where it needs to be, the, just the cargo where it needs to be, the engine where it needs to be, and not just pull out there. Alvino, this takes me to thinking about, how far off track are we, in these relationships, just from your experience of maybe things that you have heard. How far off track are we from that?
Honestly, from what I'm seeing in a lot of relationships, I think that we are extremely off, and I'll tell you why. I think a lot of our media outlets have changed in such a way, and I think a lot of the relationship talks, although they are good, a lot of times we don't talk about the longevity and the I don't want to say negative, but the ugly parts that come with relationship.
Which is what?
Forgiveness and being overly critical and anger issues, pointing out all the flaws that we want to point out with one another. And oh man, it's there's a long if we just did a whole conference over issues, I think that would clear up a lot of rhythm, because the one thing that we don't talk about is the longevity, because wow, we've been through so many emotional things. Society has taught us that if it ain't working, quickly quit. If fast food, we got fast food, we got online, we got one-click shopping. Everything is like quick and instant. Even some of the stuff that we've done in churches and are declaring that our right now to God, demanding God to give us everything right now to Him. We have bombarded everything with instant. And some of the best things that happen in life, God has shown that it does not happen overnight. And I think that if we would teach more on longevity, and in the service places that we have in our lives, longevity in these endurance places and these patient places, we talk about the fruits, and these love places that require so much more than just an instant result, that we are really developing and cultivating love through longevity. And you got to go through some storms.
Yeah.
I'm
Get
talking about
there.
some real storms. And then you got like it's a couple I'm counseling right now, and they have 3 kids. They have 3 kids. They want to get married, and they got so many different things with triggers that's setting them both off, and they want to get married. I keep telling them that y'all are not ready, and then y'all got another kid that's on the way currently. So you got to work through your own issues, plus you got to raise kids, and that's not a very healthy
Starting place.
solution. Yeah. I told them, I said, y'all gonna be divorced within the year. They said, well, we've been together 6 years. I said,
That don't mean nothing.
marriage is a different beast. And I tell them that. And I think that a lot of things that we have to really kind of see, like I said before, I said, when certain areas hit your life and you get offended, you are showing that you are still not quite ready for some things.
Yeah, that's true. And I can say that about my own self. It's not that I've not met people. I
Hmm.
think a lot of times either we were in two different places, and then there were times when, misappropriating your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling God that I want this, but my time has not been allotted enough to give
Hmm.
the relationship the attention that it needs. And so a lot
Absolutely.
of times what ends up happening, it becomes an emotional wreck. And it's like, I can't deal with that and this too at the same time.
Yeah.
So we have to really make up our mind what the scripture says. You need to count up the cost to see whether
Hmm.
you're able to finish whatever this is. So I agree
Hmm.
with you. We are off course with a lot of things. We, probably do need to go back in with some self-development as to dealing with yourself is one thing, but
Yes.
dealing with somebody else coming into your life is another thing. That means you're going to have to lay aside your pettiness with a whole lot,
Yeah.
and then the older we get a little bit more picky about things,
Yeah.
the way we want things set up in the house, and
Yeah.
all kind
Yeah.
of things, Alvino. And
Yeah.
so I do believe that there has to be a starting block with us to say, if you really want this, you got to set aside time
Yeah.
to develop
Absolutely.
yourself enough to be in
Time
this.
management.
Yes. And so, Alvino, I heard you say something earlier about prayer.
Hmm.
You said to check out their prayer life, when
Right.
you are talking to individuals, because I don't think it's just the woman that's off track. I think the men are off track as well. I think we
Hmm.
both off track.
Yeah.
When we start our prayer life out, where are we beginning there? I know prayer is just communing with God,
Yeah.
but where should we be starting at in prayer,
I,
Alvino?
I think that it should start with repentance. I think that if we see, let me say it like this, if we see that the way we've been doing it has not worked, we have developed a conformity to the system on how we did things. Bob says, what? Be not conformed to the world. The world is not just the system that we operate in, but how our flesh has been a part of the system of operation. So our routines of what we've been doing has become a part of the world's functioning. And so when we start to go into this transformation place, we have to go back in and say, God, I have been making decisions based off of my routine. And I don't want to be a part of the world order that I have established within myself. And I
That's
need a
good.
transformation. So I'm going to free out what I used to think about relationship and what I used to think about love, because I've built love off of failure. I've built love off of mistakes. I've been treated a certain way and I've said, okay, well, this is not love. And love is greater than just me, gimme, gimme, gimme. Love is some places of restriction. If you don't have somebody that will tell you no sometimes, then you don't want a person that'll say yes to everything that you say, because only thing you're doing is you're giving them ground to shape you into whatever they want you to be. And so sometimes that's where your own personal, what we were talking about. And when God starts to share with you some areas where you need to start saying your no to, and you need to start saying no to yourself in, and let me correct that behavior. That's why that relationship is so important, MP, because that repentance frees you from what you were operating in. Now you're saying, God, okay, I'm getting rid of my thoughts and I'm allowing you to give me how to think. The Bible says that when you delight yourself in the Lord, he will what? Give you the desires of your heart. But watch this. Here's where people misinterpret this a lot of times. How do you know what you should desire for when everything that you've desired has been wicked before? Because he says the heart is what? Desperately wicked. How do you know what's in your heart? How do you know that you've been requesting the wrong things when your heart is not in a good place with God? But he said, if you put all your delight in me, then I will start depositing into you what you should desire.
And you know what? You made me think about that when you said, what is it that's in your heart? The only thing I can think about is out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks.
Your mouth can speak. Absolutely.
And so a lot of times, even when you're praying and you are talking to God about certain things, you can listen to the way you pray, you know, that will determine whether you're really ready for this or not, you know, and, you know, getting that in alignment. So we start off with repentance. Where do we go after there, Alvino?
Confession.
Confessing to God, or
confessing. When you confess your faults to God, confess where you've, at first of all, it's acknowledging that, yeah, I've made some bad decisions. That repentance and confession, they both fall in the same category. But now you're starting to say, God, okay, God, show me. In that confession place, you're also saying, okay, God, I may have been doing it wrong. I need for you to start showing me in my heart where I need to start doing right. So I'm confessing to you that I've erred. And I'm asking you to show me where I should yield my services to. Removing the veils off my eyes and my ears and my mindset. Because our mindset is clogged with how we want to do it and how we think it should go.
Let's get down into that, because some people are probably maybe not understanding what we mean by the confessions. Okay. One of the confessions is we giving marriage duties to single people. We spend the night with them over there doing things. Albino, this is something. There was a gentleman that I met. This had been maybe before the holidays, and it had to been like it was right before the Thanksgiving holidays, and my brother passed away during that time. That was not a good time for me to make any decisions about anything, you know. So, but you're going off of, like you say, you know, past ways that you have dated or whatever. You know, we go out to dinner. Okay, it's good. We go out to go to the movies. It's good. You know, you're not allowing things to take place, whatever, but you're trying to kind of get a feel of one another, you know. Then this is something that I learned also. When you start operating at old system, guess what we start doing? We start going to visit them. Okay? Yeah, you start going to visit at the house there, and you may get away with it 1 or 2 times, but after a while, when people are still stuck in that old system, next thing you want to do, well, I don't want you to go. I want you to Netflix and chill. I want you to do all that. But I'm not trying to hear that, Alvino, because I already know what comes up behind that. I think the confession that had to come out of me was, God, I'm finally understanding the importance of the process of dating someone. Don't go to somebody's house too quickly, you know, because the house is too comfortable, Alvino, for other things to begin to start taking place. So that even in that confession stage, I think both of you need to be confessing that maybe we have not always dated properly, especially if you're wanting a Christian a relationship or whatever, and to talk about what that looks like for you and what that looked like for me, because I think I end up hurting his feelings later on down the line, because where you're wanting something that's not, I'm not desiring that at all. But I think sometimes we do need to stop and think before we even go to their house, because
Mhm.
they're already thinking other things behind that, Alvino.
Yeah, and I think that coming back to what we were saying is that comes into those resistance places.
Yeah.
That's where discipline becomes so important, because those resistant places, when you start to paying attention to the conversation, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
listen, I'm not saying that we're perfect by no means, but let's be honest. You know that you're attracted to this person, and
Yeah.
you know that you have at least one time thought about at least kissing them.
Right.
Okay, you know that the conversations, that's where we miss it at, because those intimate conversations get slipped in the middle of God, and it fits so well because the conversation begins to shift, and now all of a sudden you started off talking about God, which drew you in, and
Uh-huh.
now because you're trying to find personal interest, you're trying to find out more to them than just what in God. Now you start to find out their desired places as well, and then all of a sudden the mouth was like, "Oh well, I hadn't been with nobody in so many years," and those, those conversations, they start to
Yep.
come out,
They
and
sure
and,
do.
and it's okay, but you got to be aware of who you're talking to, and
Absolutely.
and it's okay to say that, but also, hey, what do you think about us coming over and just having some? No, because I
Yeah.
know me.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely. Not, it ain't
and
you, it's me.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and if
Mm-hmm.
you value where God is taking the relationship, you will say it. That can wait.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alvino. There, I agree.
Yeah.
I was listening to this life coach the other day, and I literally agreed with it. I mean, I haven't tried to date anybody since then, but
Hmm.
one thing that she said was, she said, "Don't go out to dinner.
Mm,
Don't go out
I
to
can
dinner
see
with
that.
somebody on the first date." She said, "Take them to the park." She said, "Go to the park with them. Go take a
Hmm.
walk somewhere. Stay
Hmm.
outside of those places to where y'all start getting intimate, time."
Intimate. Yeah.
Yeah. She said, use those time. And then eventually, y'all go to church together. Y'all do
Yeah.
things like that. And I really agree with it, because if we have tried it already, we say that we're being safe with certain
Hmm.
things, but you never know what's going to come up in a conversation. And
No,
like
you
you said,
don't.
you could easily be talking about the Lord, but
Yeah.
if that part has not been disciplined in
Yeah.
the conversation time, and
Yeah.
and listen, I want to say this. I don't think there's anything wrong with the conversation. I think the conversation is out of timing.
I think so too.
I don't think
I
it's the
think
right
so.
timing to be talking about those kinds of things. But I think some people have really gotten up under the, hey, I'm gonna try it out before I buy it, different things like that. But I
Hmm.
think if you want it bad enough, you'll wait for it. And Alvino, tell me your thoughts on this when it comes down to that waiting process in the relationship. If a woman has already determined that, you can tell that this man really likes you, you could tell that he's really into you or whatever, how easy is it for a woman to back up and say, let's make sure to do this right so that I can honor you and that I can honor me at the same time, without feeling like when we do that they're going to walk away?
It's gonna be predicated upon how bad she want it, and how much the man tries to enforce you not backing up.
You not backing up. Yeah.
Because if I'm dating you and I keep wanting more advanced time with you and more of that enjoyable, not so much the holding hands or anything, but just the presence.
Yeah, your
Now
presence. Okay.
now and you say, well, I need a space to look, I need a space to kind of review some things, go to the Lord, this and that. Listen, this is very important right here. If he's not saying, "Oh no, why we got to do that?" If he's got to ask why you have to do that, then he's already overly stepping the boundaries.
Yeah.
What
I agree.
what that love said? What love is? What patient.
Patient.
So therefore comes in the element of, hey, listen. as much as I want to see you again and spend more time with you, I truly understand that you are valuing not just you, but me enough to say, I need a little bit more space. And
Mhm.
you take that time away, take a week away, take a month away. See, this is what this people not gonna want to hear this, but take as much time away from me to detox from me. And if I'm still there and God still mentions me after your detox, then let's bring this thing back in and we can pick back up. Because one thing about love is not a start over, it's a continual.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there.
It's
Yeah.
it's 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 like being on a call with somebody you know, and then you say, hold on, and somebody else call, and then you click back over. You don't say, hey, what you doing again? Because you've
You just
already
continue
addressed
the
that.
conversation.
So
Mm-hmm.
and so love is the same thing that and what does the Bible say about casting your bread on the water if it returns?
Yeah, yeah.
And
It'll
you have
return.
to be
Mhm.
yeah, you have to be okay with you saying, I need this space, as well as saying to God, God, I'm trusting you that if this is not for me, that you will give me the strength to override, to move forward anyway.
Yeah. Now, Vino, when it comes down to things like that, I know a lot of people go through long periods of dating, and then there are
Hmm.
some people that they already know that this is the person, that I want or whatever.
Hmm.
And I know we can't really put time limits on things, but what are your thoughts around when you first meet someone? I've always heard that when a man meets a woman, he already knows whether he want to be with her or not. I've
Hmm.
always heard that. Where is that time limit at to say, how long do we go through this long period of dating one another before we start talking about marriage or, the engagement process?
I try and use the 3 year rule. I know people say, well, okay, you know immediately, but I say the 3 year rule, the 3 year friendship, second year engagement, third year marriage. 2 of those years you have a chance to say, I don't know if I want to do this. Well, people say, well, I can't wait that long. Well, okay, then let's let's go about 7, 8 months and see how that goes.
Okay.
See where you go with that. Then give each other a season away to see if like you're still in that place of pursuit afterwards, because the initial is just like anything in the beginning. It's fresh, it's new. I'm attracted to you. You look good. I look good. We love God, and we like the same music. We both like BB King, or we both like the same music. We both like to watch Black and Blue, and
Yeah.
all of those things. But let's see how we are when we're not with each
When
other.
we're not together. Yeah.
That's why
Do
time
you still
management becomes
long for them like that? Yeah.
that's why time management becomes so important, because you have to be wise enough to know that, okay, I cannot give all my time to this person. I've made room for them, but I can't give all my time to them, because if I give all my time to them, then now I'm gonna start losing my time at work. I'm gonna start losing my time at church. I'm gonna start losing my time at other places where I would normally incorporate. And yes, we do have to make room for who we care about, but if we give them too much time, then it's going to start becoming an obsession, and then we can't get enough of them. And
And then you can't
those
think
areas,
right. Mhm.
yeah. And then now your functioning is completely invested in this, and you don't even know where the investment is completely going. You pushed all your chips to the table, saying this is the one because they make me feel like this in 2 months. And yes, we know immediately, but also if we know, like we say we do, then we're gonna walk it out. We're gonna walk this thing out with you. We gonna understand. The Bible says what Adam knew Eve. It didn't say Eve knew Adam. It said Adam knew Eve. And so those knowing places come with a thorough understanding that he knows that you're a little bit fearful and you have some trust issues, and you may need a little bit more prayer time, a little bit more intimate time with God and the little bit more personal time away from you. So if he's going to be the right kind of gentleman, he's got to kind of say, okay, well, let me give you that time so that you can see God for yourself.
So really what he's doing, he's exemplifying the fruit of the Spirit. That's what he's doing.
Absolutely.
You know?
He's never going to force his hand. Now, he might get irritated, but that's a human side of us. But at the same time, he's not going to continue to try and drive his point across. Well, if you love me, you wouldn't be doing this to me. No, you trying to change the narrative.
Manipulate.
Yeah, you trying to put it all in your hand. Present the vision to him. First of all, let me just share this with the women. If the man ain't got no real vision, then he ain't got no direction, no way.
That part right there.
I don't care how smooth he is and what he can do, and if he can take you around the world and he can buy you a McAllister sandwich for free. All of those things don't matter to nothing if he's not already in a place, because Adam was in a place of working and doing God's assignment for vision before God decided to put him to sleep for Eve.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So where is he at? Where is this man at? Look at where his life is. What is he doing in himself that shows that he's got vision?
Alvina, we better quit now. Okay. This is good. This is so good. Yeah, that's one of those things. I know we picked Black Love for Singles back up, but I think we really do need to go back to the drawing board to make sure, here we are, we've come out of hibernation and we into this spring season, and, everybody getting ready for the summer coming up. But I think we need to slow things down just a little bit, because you become very attractive at a certain point, and I think that there is it's like a chemistry in the air that not only one is coming, but many people are coming, and you don't want to make your decision too quick on things, there's a place of compatibility. I want to close on this one here. We talk about making sure that we have compatibility with one another. I know you need to have chemistry, but you also need to have some compatibility in the relationship. And that has a lot to do with, can we get to the same place of what we have both desired by the necessary things that we're working with, do we have the finances do we need to do, or am I just going to marry potential, do we have conflict skills, or am I going to just get in and, well, that's just the way his mom and them taught them, they never worked out nothing, or do we wait for some compatibility to where we sit down and realize, are we going in the same direction? We need to sit down and talk about conversations that need to be had, whatever the case may be, the way you raise your voice, or the way that you how there are people out there that they hit and miss, they start playing, they start this, they're here for a minute, then they disappear, and then they'll come back, and they'll disappear.
I got a book on that called Catch 22, and it's about 22 attributes. Catch 23, I'm sorry, and it's about the 23 attributes of a man before you get into a relationship. When you said that, I thought about one of the characters that I talk about in my book, that the disappearing man.
Disappearing act.
Yeah. Well, no, he's a disappearing. It's like all of them are men. Like I got one that's called the Bojangles man, and one is called the Resume man, and all of them describe different attributes of what you can see in a man that will kind of give you red flags to a lot of things. Yeah. So I thought about that when you said that, and that element of being aware becomes so important with where you're trying to go with the vision, like you said, with the vision part, and that really truly makes a difference with the tools that y'all have going forward. So didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought about it right then.
But because I'm a strong believer that, we do need to have tools to work with. We're not young kids like we used to be, and you depend on the, role or profession that you're in, you know, you need somebody that's a thinker, that, you know, you can think on our toes, and, you know, how we're going to get this done if something is, you know, going on, and how quick are we to, you know, fix these problems we got them going on, and how quick is the other person to come in and help and assist when trouble goes on, or are they going to sit down and watch you try to fix it all? That's what I'm talking about, compatible, you know.
Absolutely.
When you see that there's a need, am I going to be the only one that's going to be out there making sure that the relationship works? Or are we both going to jump in and say, hey, you go ahead and finish doing what you're doing, you know, and I got this here. I think those are the things that we definitely need to be looking for, Alvino, and, you know, not just jumping into, you know, some childlike behaviors and stuff. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, this has been good tonight, and
I've enjoyed it.
Much needed. I think sometimes married people have to come back and revisit things again too, Alvino, even, you know, especially when you've been single for a while and then you get married. One of the things that I've always said is that when that time does come back up into my life, I want to continue to keep giving to the singles, because the singles are the ones that help me to keep growing, you know. I remember when I was serving in the local church, and one of our main leaders that was old, this is how I ended up getting into singles ministry. I had just gone through, I hadn't even gone through a divorce yet. My husband and I, my ex-husband and I, we were separated, and I had taken on a position at the church. And one of my first assignments was the guy that was teaching the singles class was going through a divorce and decided that he couldn't do it anymore. So by me being over the ministries, I had to step in. I had never taught a singles class before, but Alvino, when I tell you I fell in love with that classroom, I got every opportunity I could get. I kept thinking about, oh, no, I need them to think about this. I need them to think about this. We did role play in the room. We did some of everything in there, because I did not want them to miss. We even did Bishop Jake's message, Junk in the Trunk. I remember when we did that one there.
That's good.
This is something that I always want to do, is always pour back into the singles, because that's a place that you can get stuck at. It's a place where a lot of hurt can be at, because, you know, you start taking it very personal, and it's not meant to be personal. It's just a place where you're just doing some self-reflections on your own life, to make sure that if this is something that you want to do, called getting married, that you make sure to get your ducks in a row this time before you do it. So, Alvino, if there were anything, now that you're on the other side of the table, now you've gotten married, would you say there was anything that you would recommend that a person maybe slows down with before they actually make that decision to marry, or make sure that you've done these final checks before you decide to marry?
See what else is out there.
This may be a hard one out there.
No, it's okay. See what else life has to offer for you. If that means, if you're able to travel, or, you know, people say, well, I don't have the money to travel, and I wouldn't encourage anybody getting on a plane right now. No way. You're going to be at the airport all night. But, you know, but there's a lot of things in your local city that offer a lot of inexpensive things, like taking up art classes, you know, the culinary things, or just do new experiences. Find you a bucket list of stuff that will challenge and bring the best out of you. What else is inside of you that you want to reach in, that you've never done? Do you want to overcome a fear? Is it something that you've always wanted to do, or go, or see? Start making those plans and developing goal mindseted things for yourself. Because one thing about character building is, my mom always said, you want to be diverse in every area, so that you're able to talk about anything with anybody. You know, and you want to be able to expand your conversation places. If it's taking a public speaking class, you know, take a public speaking class. You know, they got all these different things. You know, last week I went to see a play in Tyler, and it was a very, very, very good play. I love plays, and it was a very, very good, insightful play. And I think that if we really start to tap into those kind of things, we can really see what else is in us so
Yeah.
that we can bring something to the table of experience because maybe that person has not been to that. And you can, that in itself will entertain the relationship or become a tabletop or a jump starter to something else that could happen with the relationship as well. So when you go into it, you will say, I've had some experiences and I've done some things and I've went on a singles cruise. They got singles cruises out there now where singles can go and just mingle and meet with one another. You cannot be afraid to be kind of out of the box of meeting other people. You can't
Mm.
stay in a box and then expect to have a very healthy relationship when all you know is you.
Oh, that's
Experience these things.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Experience some things. Life is really, really beautiful, and there's a lot of things that we can still see. In take yourself out on some table for one days. That's the quickest way to get a table anywhere at any restaurant.
A
You
table
ask
for
for
one.
you ask for a table for one. You won't have to wait no more than 5 minutes.
That's good. That's
You know,
good.
and take yourself out because if you can go out on a date with yourself and really truly enjoy yourself without feeling like you have to be with somebody there, then you have prepared yourself for if somebody come. Because I'm not wishing anything on anybody, but there's no guarantee in the world that the person that you say you're going to spend your life with will say, I won't spend my life with you. I don't care how much they say it, and I don't care how much you say it. People are people, and we are human, and things happen and make sudden changes in our lives that can go left or right. So you got to always know how to go back to you at the end of the day, no matter if you're with somebody forever or not. I got a friend, he just lost his wife at the beginning of March, and they've been together about 10 years, classmates. And seeing him in that place of him losing his wife, his best friend, was so devastating. And yet him trying to find his way again to himself, and it's devastating and it's beautiful at the same time if you can really see beyond just the loss, because this gives you an opportunity to still find yourself even when you thought that you couldn't find that you couldn't live without anybody.
That's good, Alvino. I like that. I like that. Well, y'all, this is Singles Let's Talk and Black Love for Singles, not Singles Let's Talk, but Black Love for Singles. And I do believe that Black love is beautiful. Do you hear me?
Mhm.
But I do believe that we kind of shortchange ourselves a lot of times as to we just look for love and that's all when we haven't even searched within ourselves to find out what was there. So Alvino, thank you so much for joining with me tonight. This will not be the last time we come in together with
Enjoyed it.
one another. We
Enjoyed
got
it.
so many conversations to have. For those of you that are out there just in single land, y'all be patient, trust the process. I got this smart system that I use, simplify things. Don't make it hard on yourself, when you'll know what you like when you know what you like, and then
Mm.
there's the learn how to manage the portion that you have, not somebody else, because they got this book out there called Let Them, because some of us got some controlling issues. You have to learn how to manage
Mhm.
the part that God has given to you. There's the A. It's called articulate. Make sure
Mhm.
you articulate what it is that you want. Open up your mouth, say it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do, you do, without being afraid that you're going to lose someone. Then there's the R. The R says to do your research. You don't have to choose the first thing that comes up in your life. There's a different, listen, they got Kroger's, McDonald's, they got all kind of different outlets out there.
Yeah.
I'm just making a mockery of that, but do your research on relationships and the types of relationship, find out who you are, even you get to know, people when they come into your life. God never leaves us without a cue of what he's bringing into our lives. When people start coming into your life, whether it be friendships or whatever, you start getting introduced to certain things, and you'll say things like, I wouldn't put up with that or whatever, and then it keeps coming into your life. A lot of time, God is bringing things in your life to let you know that I'm giving you a tolerance to learn how to handle certain things, but you can't deny it when it comes in. I haven't even brought you the real thing just yet. I'm just trying to let you see that relationships go through these types of things. And sometimes getting in there with your friends or whatever, and speaking well of them helps out with it. So do your research with it. And then the T, trust the process. I do believe that he that began a great work in us, he'll finish it. I believe that the Lord knows the desires that we have in our hearts, and somebody else has the same desire that you got out there. And I think it's just a matter of time, Alvino, that y'all meet each other. I do believe preparation needs to be a part of that. Both of you need to prepare, So until that time, y'all, we're going to stay single, and we're going to rock single well and not try to rush into love before time. And then thank God for the journey that you're on. So, Alvino, thank you so much for joining with us. I appreciate you. Those of you that have joined in tonight, y'all come back again. I'll let y'all know again when we're back in. I'm going to try to come in on Saturday night, but I'm going to see how that feels. First of all, I got to feel this out.
So, time management.
Time management, yes. Yeah. But until we meet again, you guys be blessed. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Those of you getting ready to go to church tomorrow, listen, get up, go somewhere. Don't stay at the house, especially if you know you need that. Everybody need a touch from the Lord. Go and get what you need. Build yourself up in your most holy faith, and then allow God to give you the ingredients that you need to navigate through whatever process that you're going through in life. So you guys be blessed. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see y'all back another time. You guys be blessed.
Oh, baby, can I sing for you? Can I sing for you, baby? What is love without a kiss? What is love without a hug? What is love without a melody? What is love? What is love without your hand? What is love without a home? What is love if you're empty? What is love? So many different definitions of what love is. Love is. So many questions got me wondering what love is. What is love? What does it mean? What is love? Is it just make believe? Tell me what is love?